Thanks.
Wait, yes.
I have to correct you. It wasn't the Etobicoke School of the Arts.
Oh,
It was the Toronto High School for the Performing Arts.
I see. Thank you.
And I still got expelled.
At what point, growing up in Toronto, did you know that you wanted to act?
I knew that in an early age, which I really felt lucky about. I guess I didn't grow up in a showbiz family, but my mother was a costume designer in the music industry. I had a stepfather who was a director who worked in Broadway, and then when I was like 15, ended up being a production assistant on a movie, and actually, probably through school. Like I have this memory of being a kid. I think it was like second grade, and memories are funny because they might not be true, but they're your experience. This is a story I tell in just the sense of like somehow like when kids, that story of like I looked up at a fireman and I knew I wanted to be a fireman. I remember in Jesse Ketchum, after nap time, they brought some people in to do whatever with the kids, right? Because you got to do something with the kids, so you play. And I remember looking at these people, and I guess they were going to do theater games with the kids, and looking at them and going, "Wow, what is that?" And then tying that into other artists as I was growing up, and then, doing Shakespeare in high school. I went to North Toronto for 2 years, and North Toronto, Mr. Bolt. Anyway, German. Let's see. Anyway, but yeah, doing Shakespeare and so that was a part of it. And then, so when I was 15, my mother recalls me going up to her and saying, "Do you mind if I become an actor?" So I did it at 15. Okay. And I was a pretty self-motivated kid and started taking acting classes. And the environment that I could do that here in the city was amazing. I was watching Second City on television, and so I went to Second City, so I was taking Second City classes. I was doing, and really probably the most important part of that was I was at the Jewish Community Center up on Eglinton, with Rose Dubin, who was there, and that's where I ended up doing, getting a chance to play Mercutio in Romeo and Juliet, and that's where I got an agent. Another actor had an agent, and they had come to see the play, and then this person who was actually an acting model agency didn't do so well at the modeling, but I could never figure that out. Anyway, so then, so that's where I got my first agent. And so then with that, doing that, going there, studying at night, taking classes, was all like Uta Hagen, respect for acting, and taking drama in high school, and then going to the auditioning for the Performing Arts High School after North Toronto. So all of that was going on, taking Second City, going to the community center, getting an agent, and then, working at it.
One of the things I've seen all the way through everything I've seen you do on screen, and I wonder how much it was there from the beginning, was a kind of physicality as an actor. I know you were an athlete, you were a hockey player, a goalie called the Wall.
On the good days.
Yeah, okay.
There were other days that were like the Civ. But
Okay.
yeah, no, I played I went to De La Salle for a year, and I played there for a year. We did, and then that's where I did actually one of my first high school play was at De La Salle, when we had we did the Crucible with the girls' private school, St. Joe's. And that's where I got to play John Proctor, which was the first lead in a high school play.
As an actor, though, for you, I mean, so much of it is about emotion and trying to capture a character, but how much of it is also physical? How much of it is a physical discipline for you as well?
I guess a lot. I mean, I've always brought that. I mean, I could become quite gestural, but yeah, it's interesting when I was thinking about what you wanted to speak about in terms of the action aspect of it. It brought me back. I remember actually one of the first lessons that I had with Uta Hagen's Respect for Actor. You have to have an action on stage. And I remember I had to do this sweeping thing, and I was just kind of sweeping, and the teacher was like, "No, you're being too general," And then I remember I was at this I also
What does that even mean? What, too general, sweeping?
yeah, because it wasn't. They wanted something. You know, I was doing it, and I probably could have brought more emotion to it. But then they were like, "Why don't you just sweep, and then bring something to the sweeping?" It's acting class.
Yeah.
You're learning.
I'm learning. I'm trying.
That's what. No, but I mean, the physicality and sense of what's going on internally, what's going on emotionally. What is your sense? Where are you now? Right, in the moment. So in the moment, I was just kind of. There was no moment, and so in a way, the person was saying, you know, do something specific. And then I remember going to. I was at a outside of Philadelphia. I was in this place called. Rose Valley, which is a part of the Provincetown Players, which was Eugene O'Neill's company. And there was these two grand dames of theater there, Rose, and they worked from Hagen as well, and they did a thing called 3 entrances. And I remembered what my entrance was.
What was it?
And so you have the stage and the empty space, and so I did this, and I remember this. I did this thing where I jumped like I was jumping through a window. And then I was hiding, and I was being chased, and then I left, and that was physical. That was like a psycho-emotional, physical expression, and so that aspect of it. And I've always been interested in shape and form, which ties in, I guess, to the idea part of it and the physical part of it. So that's a part of it as well.
First clip I want to show is physical. It's from Point Break. And it is, I hope you guys have seen Point Break. I'm sure everybody's seen Point Break, probably multiple times. Catherine Bigelow, one of her best films still, I think, and she remains a terrific director, but I think she has committed to screen what is probably the best foot chase in cinema. And I think it would have probably required a lot of physical training for it. But let's watch the clip from Point Break, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about that. From what I understand, when you were first cast for Point Break by Catherine Bigelow, you had not done action up to that point. How did you get into a role like that?
I have absolutely no idea. It was part of Catherine Bigelow's genius. I guess she saw Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and thought,
That's
FBI agent, Johnny Utah. So I don't really know, but God bless her for that, because the role and the opportunity changed my life. And gosh, there's so much to talk about with that picture. First of all, it's amazing, and it's always lovely to see Patrick Swayze, who passed. He was such an amazing guy, and he was really cool to me. I actually had met him on a picture called Youngblood, which was one of the first films that I did, and he was cool even then, to me. And so it was cool just to be back, and he had such a great support, being such an experienced action actor, and actor. He was really like, "Come on, Reeves, let's go." He had a smile. He's just like, yeah. He was jumping out of airplanes, during the course. Because if you recall the picture, at the end you see him doing flips in the sky. And he really was Bodhi. He ended up getting all of the guys who were part of the team, the bank robbers, and they were jumping out of airplanes. They were like jumping out of airplanes and why jump? So eventually, the film company gave them a cease and desist order because Swayze had over 30 jumps while he's making the movie. And he's like, and this is where Catherine, she pushed everyone on the picture she wanted to put the audience there, like what you're reacting to in terms of the intimacy, the presentness that the audience feels in that chase sequence. They used a tool which hadn't really been used much at the time, which was called a pogo cam. So there was a guy who was, and the Steadicam, of course, had been used for a while, but this was like pogo cam, so it was like a snorkel lens and then rolling film, but it was just so that they could keep up because she wanted it at pace. You know, oftentimes you'll see people running in movies and it's like, they're running, you know, they got to pretend to run, but like the background's kind of going, or they look like they're really running hard, you know, but they're not moving, or they're like, you know, and she was like, she didn't want that. She wanted people surfing, driving, flipping, and running. And she really pushed the cinematographer and the crews, I mean, like all the time, you know, like, let's go. And I think that's why, you know, all of the time I run into people who are like, Point Break. And I'm like, yeah, it's great, you know. And they're like, yeah, but that's not what I meant. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you mean? I started jumping out of airplanes because of Point Break. I started surfing because of Point Break. You know, it really, you know, changed people's lives, you know, just like it did mine.
I think that there might have been some kind of seed of that started here in Canada. There's one thing I want to show the audience here, which is something that you did before you did Point Break, well before, in 1984.
Oh, boy.
There's a CBC show called Going Great.
I was a co-host.
You were a co-host of that show. And
For
I think
one
we
season.
see the seeds of your physical acting. Let's look at that scene from Going Great, 1984.
Can't
Keanu
wait, Cameron.
Reeves. No stunt man, nothing.
I do my own stunts, Cameron. That was an amazing, God, my voice hasn't changed. And the hair, her hair, my hair, the 80s.
It was the 80s.
Yeah, that was actually that was a cool thing to be a part of, actually. Because I got to interview I called them kids, but we were all kids, but to interview young people. And it was also just a way to be on camera and to go through that. I don't think that dialogue was written. And if I saw that, I would go, oh, Ted Theodore Logan.
So that's come up a couple times now. And I guess maybe now's a good time to talk about Bill and Ted and maybe some of the other things you did, because you seem to be able to switch from comedy, out-and-out comedy like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, to a movie like River's Edge, terrific film which came out in '86. Still, you were very young when you did that. And that's a tough drama, very serious drama. Can you talk about those early years once you had left Toronto, you were beginning to get film roles, and you were deciding, I guess, were you going to be a comedy actor, a dramatic actor, action star?
You know, when you're 20 years old, Cameron, you're not really going, I'm going to be an action star. I'm going into comedy. I mean, you really are. I mean, you're so young, you just want to act, you know, you just want to work on the craft. You want to get a chance to play, get a chance to be a working actor. You know, I had I started 15, had the agent, you know, I did some commercials here. I did some TV series. You know, there was actually a lot of opportunities for young actors here. You know, we had Night Heat.
You were on Night Heat?
I was on Night Heat. I was thug number one. Actually, I'm gonna tell that story. Okay, so
good, go for it.
Okay, this is a quick story. Because when you're a young actor, you're like studying, right? So you want reality. You're going in, your method, your whatever you're doing, right? No matter what you're doing. And I remember going up to the director with the other actor, because he and I were like, okay, so we're these two guys, and we have to rape this girl, and who are you gonna be, and blah blah blah. And I went up to the director, and we're like, okay, so this is what we're thinking. He just went like, you're thug number one, and you're thug number two.
That's it.
Professional. And so that you kind of grow up doing that. That's how you're like, right, it's something else. It's something more. It's something other, which was really cool. And so then I ended up, there's a lot of, at the time, I don't know if it's still happening, but you had to have, American productions would come here and they needed Canadian content. And so I auditioned for an American movie called Young Again with Robert Urich and Lindsay Wagner. And I got the role in that. I ended up getting the co-lead in that. And that's what helped me get an agent in Los Angeles. And then I went. And then I had done a short film at the NFB. And I'd done another American movie called Act of Vengeance here, Charles Bronson picture. I got to work at Theatre Passe Muraille. I did a play there called Wolf Boy with Carl Marat, who's awesome. I don't think he thought I was awesome, but we got along. He was really cool to me. So yeah, and then I went to Los Angeles and tried to work there and got a TV role in a TV movie, and then did River's Edge.
As you're beginning to get roles and as you're beginning to get lead roles and test yourself out as an actor in those lead roles, are you thinking some of them feel more right to you than others? Bill and Ted feels more or less right than River's Edge, or is it all just
No, I mean,
good acting?
River's Edge was really, for me, it was really one of the. I mean, I've had a lot of breaks, I guess, you know, in the sense of having opportunities and having people want to work with me, or having the chance to work on projects that ended up being good or great. But to go from Toronto and be in Los Angeles, and then to have, I don't know if you've seen the film, but it holds up. It's an amazing picture, the writing, acting, directing, cinematography. But for me to join this band of characters and actors, you know, that felt, you know, I remember, like, you know, you're still trying to work on your wardrobe, right? So I had my Toronto influences. So it was like it's a leather jacket with a cut-off jean vest, you know? But I'm playing this kind of hippie dude, so I'm like, okay, well, what about a tie-dye shirt? And then I'll put a skull on the back. But wait, let's do some neon, you know, spray paint. So I'm doing a peace sign over the skull sign with the, you know, so I'm bringing my culture into this thing that's going on. Heavy metal. And then... and you know, Queen Street and Yonge Street, and all of that. So that was really creative. It was fun. So in terms
And that was Dennis Hopper on
yeah,
River's
I got to
Edge
meet
and an incredible cast.
Yeah, Crispin Glover.
Crispin Glover.
Yeah, and Frederick Elms had just shot Blue Velvet.
Blue Velvet, right.
You know, and I was talking to, you know, Dennis Hopper about that. Yeah, man, I just got to play this role and doing this gas and got crazy. But that, you know, to be working with David Lynch, for me, was still recent days, because Eraserhead was one of those movies that, right? And I remember going to the Bloor Cinema and, like, riding my bicycle and, like, wow, Eraserhead, right? What did we think? But, like, locking the bike up and going into the Bloor Cinema, you know, which was also part of, you know, the cinema, the town, the cinema. There's always been movies when I'm growing up here in Toronto. You know, the Roncesvalles had the review and those terrible seats and, like, the worst popcorn. But, like, it had the Rocky Horror Picture Show, right? Fucking taking that fucking streetcar. Like, to fucking nowhere.
Streetcar is about the same.
Right? And then, like, it made that turn, and, like, what the fuck? Yeah, so there was a Bloor Cinema, Roncesvalles, U of T was showing movies, so I'm like, I'm watching Solaris at U of T going, what the fuck? I'm like 17, and I'm like, okay, this is existentialism. I get the, like, I read Waiting for Godot, but that was funny. Well, I guess you have to be old. This is like...
Tarkovsky's not that funny, it's true.
Yeah, it's not... But Soderbergh made it funny. Anyway. Anyway. But, so there was a culture there, and of course there was the Toronto... Am I answering your question? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. But then, so in 1984... I went to the Toronto. It wasn't the International Film Festival, I don't believe.
The Festival of Festivals.
It was the Festival of Festivals. I don't even know if it was it year 9, the Festival of Festivals?
Yeah, from 76 onward. Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. But that was, again, I guess it goes to the point of, like, all of these different kinds of training experiences, cinema, genre, being exposed to that and having, and no one saying yes or no to anything, no limitation. You know, that you could go in for a drama, a comedy. And so for me, I was getting to do trying to do all of that. To me, I've always wanted to have the chance to play different kinds of roles in different kinds of genre. I hated no. I hated, like, you can't. I'm like, what? I hated that. I hate it.
So then the 90s come, and you do Point Break in 91. In 1994, another movie comes along, running, jumping. It's called Speed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you kind of, the 90s kind of go out with one of the most important movies of that whole era, the kind of ultimate millennial movie, The Matrix.
Yeah.
These are all action movies. And suddenly in this decade, I feel like you must have felt, okay, I am now an action star, whether I wanted to be or not, but these are three defining movies of that genre.
Yeah. What I got to do on Point Break is something that happened with Speed as well, and then with the Matrix films. And I loved the physicality, but I always wanted to have physicality with the role, the character. And Catherine Bigelow wanted that. And Catherine Bigelow wanted to bring the character and the audience together. So they wanted the actor to do as much as they could. And I think because of the physical training that I had had, the sport that I had had, I ran into this amazing stunt coordinator named Glenn Wilder. And he was like, because there's that scene where like I'm jumping down from that wall down the scrub, and then I go down I got to do that. But Glenn was like, go do it, go, you can do it. And I was getting training with guns and all of that good fun stuff. And then in Speed, I got to work with a great, and these guys like Glenn Wilder is like second generation. And Gary Himes from Speed is 2 generations. And in the Matrix trilogy, I'm working with a stunt coordinator named R.A. Rondell, who's 3 generations. I mean, it's like guys who have just grown up in stunts and because I think technologies were changing, all of the wiring that they could do for me in Speed, so being tied into the first shot being lowered down in the elevator shaft, they were like, okay, you can do that. Doing the driving, you can do that. I remember being, they were building a freeway in LA called the 105, and there was like, they work with all of these little Tonka toys, and they'd map out stuff, and they'd be like, okay, you're gonna see this car, you go over here, then you see this car, go over there, and it's the white one, and then just look for the red, don't worry about it, and then just make sure you go right over here, and then you're like, go. And I'm like, and then you're getting comfortable, and like you're ripping off doors, and you're getting to jump, because they're setting you up. Everyone around you in Point Break, all of the stuff that the training with the running, and then I guess, I'm sorry, just leading all of this up in terms of the Matrix, because even when these films, Speed was a pretty good success. They wanted to make another one. Point Break they're making now, but that's another story, which is cool. And then. But I still wasn't just, I didn't keep doing action movie after action movie. And then there was the Matrix, which was Kung Fu, movie Kung Fu. And
was there pressure to be just one kind of star? Obviously, there are many stars who just do action. They just run and jump and shoot. You didn't ever do that.
Don't just say just.
Good point.
No,
right.
no.
It's probably harder than it looks.
No. Because actually, you know what's cool about that, actually, on the other side of that, is that the performer is making it look like it's just. And when a performer can make it go like, that it looks effortless, or that's so organic and part of it that, it doesn't look like, it's when the acting doesn't look like acting, but since we're here.
Good point. Stand corrected. Speaking of that, you've obviously shown a lot of respect for the stunt coordinators that you've worked with over the years, and John Wick is directed by former stunt coordinator, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that world? Because these often are sort of unsung heroes of action movies.
Yeah. Yeah, again, with Glenn Wilder, so you have the deal, you have what you're going to do in terms of the action, driving cars, movie Kung Fu, running through fire, doing sword fights. They have a stunt coordinator, and then they have the team. In Hollywood, traditionally there's been a long history of action, and not only in action movies, but in comedy. When we think of early silence, how physical they were. Harold Lloyd, hanging, Chaplin, fucking running, people coming off of the back of that fire truck that runs around. So early cinema has had that going on, and in that tradition, and it was always training. And I think for me, I grew up on Burt Reynolds and Hal Needham and those guys, right? So it was cars. And then it started to get into the crazy high. And then, of course, the Bond movies. Like, what is that? The English tradition. But then the technologies changed for when I was coming around with the wiring and the ramps that could go on. So it got bigger, bigger, better, bigger, better, bigger. And then actors could get put in there.
Right. Up to this point, this is all pre-CGI though. Wire work is as far as, I mean, up through 99.
They were painting wires out and doing that stuff, but it wasn't, you know, now they're putting, you know, they had, it was just, I mean, Descenders were just happening, but that was still like.
Descenders?
Yeah, you know, you put you on a wire, you like jump 30 stories off or 3 stories off and they can control your drop. You know, before then it was bags, right? Like all those high falls and stuff that you would see. But then they were putting people on Descenders, you know, the ramping, you know, air ramps for cars. And for me, you know, they were just, the technologies were coming down to the actors. And that was cool for me. I mean, in a way, Bruce Willis was just the generation before me, right? Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis, if we're just talking action. You know, he was like the first kind of like everyday hero, anti-hero, but the guy who we saw, like, you know, jumping over the glass, he's cutting his feet, right?
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going?
He's human. He's not
He's
James
human.
Bond. Yeah.
He's like, talk to me out there, Charlie. You know? Hey, you know, and he's got the cut. And he's fucking awesome. And Jan de Bont was a cinematographer, right, on Mackenzie's on that show, on Die Hard. So Jan de Bont learned a thing or two.
For Speed.
Yeah, for Speed. So he directed Speed. So again, here is a person who wanted to put me in the action. So that's where I cut my teeth, was the physical production side, the stunts, and the directors, Catherine and Jan, saying, go do it, you know? And for me, my experience of that was literally fake fights or doing sword fights. You know, that was where I learned that kind of stuff, was from the stagecraft of sword fighting, you know, all of those sword fights.
And a Shakespeare production.
And Shakespeare productions and dealing with all of that kind of thing.
It's nice to know there is a point of contact between Shakespeare and Speed.
There is. There is. Because that's part of, I mean, the stagecraft of fighting, you know, preparing, training, all of that.
I want to show a clip from The Matrix. This is one of my favorite movies ever. I've seen it many, many times. And there's one scene, there are many iconic scenes in the movie, but there's one in particular I want to show, which is the kind of the lobby assault, which for me is one of the last great action sequences where there's no obvious CGI. You don't feel like it's populated with a lot of stuff that could never happen in real life.
It's not.
It's not. That's interesting. But it looks like that.
It's no. I'm just saying it's all in camera.
It's all in camera.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of wire pulls, but the rest
That's
is.
it. No computers. So let's look at that scene, and then we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about all of that.
The Matrix.
The Matrix. It's cool. Can't deny it. It's cool. So many things I could ask you about that, but one of the things that I think is interesting in the context of this conversation is the shift here to not just action and movement, but style, incredible style. I mean, the greens and the blacks, the way it's shot, the use of slow motion, all the kind of the stuff in the frame where you feel like it's just alive with motion and movement. Can you talk a little bit about working with the Wachowskis and what kind of vision they had for this world of the Matrix?
They had it pretty sorted in their minds. There was a lot of previs, not as we quite understand it today in terms of animatics and, you know, really kind of producing. It was more like storyboard images, like the bullets hitting the ground, the last frame. All of it was pretty framed up. There were still decisions on the day, like, okay, so how many guns can we put on me? Yeah, so they were really framed. They were really there was a lot of storyboards, and they had that really sorted. It was the kind of key moment. We had trained. Go ahead.
I was going to say, this is one of the first movies I can remember of that era where there was a clear influence from Asian action as well, from Hong Kong action movies and Japanese films.
Yeah, so from anime, I mean, they had a lot of influence. I mean, they asked me to watch Ghost in the Shell. They had a lot. Yes, yes. Definitely anime. Definitely American. Frank Miller. I mean, their antenna and sensitivity is broad and wide and vast. But for me, in terms of the action, wanted me to look at that. Yuan Wu Ping's pictures, so Fist of Legend, Tai Chi Masters. And then, curiously though, with this sequence, we had the wire work trained, like that one last wire kick, and Carrie Ann Moss Roy was working on that cartwheel, so she does that. I don't do the first cartwheel, but I do the second cartwheel. Carrie Ann did all of her stuff. So I was in that sequence. I'm not in one shot. And that was the training. The thing that was funny about that is that they kind of walked us through it, but no one choreographed the gun work.
Really?
Yeah, so I walk on the set, and they're like, hey, look at this great set that we're going to destroy. And I'm like, cool. And they're like, okay, so you're going to walk through here, and then you're going to have this gun, and then you're going to walk through here, and then you guys are going to go over here, and then we have this cool shot that's going to go like this, and then you're going to go over here, and all this shit's going to blow up, and we're going to shoot on this camera super high speed, and you're going to do all that stuff, okay? Great, we're going to set up. It's going to take about 6 hours because we're going to put all these explosions in the walls. And I'm like, okay, so who do I talk to about how we're going to do the guns? Oh shit, that's me. And so I go over to the guy and I'm like, okay, what are the guns? And so I start going, okay, that's the pillar, because I can't practice there. So I'm picking up here's a camera cart. And so I'm going, okay, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here, I'm going to drop down here. Okay, I'm wearing glasses because I was used to squibs, right? And squibs can blind you. I have another story about that if you want. But anyway, so we had to work all of that out. And Carrie Ann's doing her thing. Okay, I'm going to come here. And we're going to okay, so we're going to come and then we're going to look. Yeah, let's do that look. And then we're going to and so much of that preparation, but then it's also left up to you. And that was it was cool. It was exciting. It was a little nerve-wracking, but but it was great to have the glasses because then you didn't have to blink and you couldn't do anything. And I put ear stuff in because all that material coming is not visually CG enhanced. So you're going through and it's and you got pieces of
that's real debris flying all over the place,
brother. And when you're going like that, they've just told you that it's going to be 6 hours to set that up, right? So all of the panels, and if they had to redo it, it's 3 hours. And so what happens is, and this is actually where it started to happen, is where the athletic part of it, where you start to get superstitious. Like I remember during the course of The Matrix, you end up putting the right boot on first, make sure that you do this shoelaced a certain way, this strap has to be, you get superstitious, you have routines, you have because you got to get that because it's film.
It's game day.
It's game day, it's right now, and it's, yes! I mean, I love that. I mean, that's what made it so extraordinary.
Remarkable film. From that point, I mean, there were 2 Matrix sequels, not as well received, which, curious to know what you thought of the subsequent films. But at that point, you could have just done that kind of movie for the rest of your career, I suppose, if you'd chosen. And I wonder what kind of decisions you had to make after the phenomenal success of The Matrix in '99.
Yeah, I mean, the film actually, when it came out, wasn't a blockbuster hit. It was not well received critically. It made its money back. It did okay, but it wasn't. I mean, they made a sequel to it, so it did well enough. It was kind of a cult movie. I mean, people saw it, but critically, it was panned a lot. Audiences, some people were like, that was the most amazing moment. And, for me, which was awesome. Like I've met people who were like, I went to the midnight show. I went to Man's Chinese in Hollywood and it blew my mind. I went right back into the movie. For me, I relate to that like when I saw Star Wars when I was a little guy. I was just like, times have changed. Yes, use the Force to what truth?
There was a moment there too, because it was 1999, Y2K, the turn of the millennium. People were freaking out about what it all meant, and here comes this movie that tells you that nothing that you experience is real, and it just felt like it had this real, that like it was opening a lock to something that was previously hidden. And I think the people who loved the movie took it that way. It wasn't just about the movie; it was about the moment of it as well.
Yeah, and just again, those Lana and Andy are. Their films have always spoken to humanity in an effort to draw the best out of us.
They had you read Jean Baudrillard for this film, I had heard. Is
Yeah,
that?
little Baudrillard.
Seriously?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had like this Matrix. They gave me like this Matrix handbook. Like there was like this like little tool chest. So it was like watch these movies, the anime, Yuan Wu Ping, and read some Baudrillard. What was it? Simulation and Simulacra.
Yeah.
Which was fantastic. The Pompidou Center and the commonization of art. And anyway. And then, of course, the first day that you arrive in Sydney, Australia, you get a little box, and you open up the little box, and there's a red pill.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that movie took 8 months. It was 4 months of training and 8 months of filming. It was no joke. And, at that time, there wasn't a tradition. Obviously, in Hollywood, there have been times where actors had trained for pictures, obviously. Douglas. I mean, all of those. But no, and it hadn't in recent days been like, go train for 4 months.
So that moment where you say, I know Kung Fu, you knew Kung Fu.
I knew movie Kung Fu. Yeah, because it was tough, because before we started The Matrix, I actually had to have spine surgery. My spine was broken. So I had a 2-level fusion on September 1997 for a 2-level fusion. So they had to push the fights because the insurance wouldn't let me fight until my neck had fused. So I did all the training in a neck cast, and so that's another story. But anyway, it worked out. But in order, so I didn't answer your question, Cameron. Yeah, it was, what do you do next? I don't even know what I did next. What did I do next,
I want to get into the 2000s, and what I found interesting was there are a bunch of independent movies that you began to gravitate towards. Thumbsucker in 2005, with Mike Mills' film.
Fantastic movie.
You brought Henry's Crime here to the Toronto Film Festival in 2010.
Pure Farmiga, James Caan.
And then just recently, about a year and a half ago, you had Man of Tai Chi, which you directed yourselves.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thank you.
So what I was interested in is, you've had remarkable success in Hollywood. You could have just gone that way, but there were obviously other things that were interesting to you as an actor, as a producer, as a director. And at what point do you decide that what the studio projects are offering you is not going to be enough and you want to do more?
I don't know. I mean, it's... I grew up on, again, like I said, I had the opportunity I just wanted to work, create, act. I had a chance to do some studio pictures. And the thing that's really great about that for me was, you always want your work to reach a wider audience, but also the world creation that you can do, the resources that a studio movie has. I love that. I love the world creation, like in Constantine, or even with a comedy like, Something's Gotta Give with Nancy Meyers, the resources to create that world and to spend the time to get that perfection. I love all of that. Studio-wise, I guess so I was always trying to do, the argument from my manager was, if you do the studio picture, you can go do the independent movies. And part of that was like, great. Why can't I just do the studio? Why does it have to be? Because if you don't do the studio, then you can't do. And I was like, wait, but that's not how it worked for me. I went from this independent film world to, that. And then career-wise, I guess I didn't do so well in studio pictures, so I didn't get many offers and stuff. So the independent world for me became more of the focus, and so. just wanting to create and work. And I guess when in my 40s, early 40s, I'd started a production. I got a producing partner, and we started developing material. And so I just started doing that. And that's where Henry's Crime came from. And and so and then I guess I did The Day the Earth Stood Still. So that was kind of part of The Day Your Career Stands Still. It had really good intentions. You know, it was great to work with Scott Derrickson. And, you know, that was, you know, that's a really interesting film to remake. And probably so interesting that you probably shouldn't remake it.
So with Man of Tai Chi, you're directing.
Yes.
And you're not only directing, but you're directing in the People's Republic of China. And you're working with Tiger Chen, remarkable martial artist and actor. And this is, to me, taking on a whole lot of challenges. Why did you decide, instead of just continuing to act only, that you would also do this?
Yeah, I just wanted to make stuff, you know, just creatively. And it was obviously performing, acting, directing, but I started with the production company. Chen Hu, Tiger, he and I had a relationship, you know, working on The Matrix. He trained me. He was the guy I trained with. All of those hours, you know, those 4 hours of stretching every day, and helped me train with anyway. So we wanted to work together. We developed a screenplay over about 5 years. I worked with this producer, Limor Sivan, on Henry's Crime. I had shown her Man of Tai Chi. She said, let's go do it. I said, you want to go make a Chinese Kung Fu movie in China? And she was like, yes. I was like, you're the producer for me. And she's an awesome New York producer. And so we started to try and sell it. We ended up, I met through Tiger at the head of the time, China Film Group, which is CFG. They said yes, met with Village Roadshow. They gave us some dough. Universal International gave us some dough. And we went, and in 2011, we went to Beijing and Hong Kong, and we shot a Mandarin, Cantonese, English, spiritual Kung Fu movie.
Amazing. Let's have a look at that clip from Man of Tai Chi. Will you direct again?
I hope so. Yeah, I'd love to. I just need to find a story to tell.
One of the things that I've been continually impressed by is that although there is all of this action in your background and you've got this training and there is this kind of physicality to your work, there are also ideas constantly and some big ideas sometimes in a lot of your films. You've saved the world many times. There's a kind of spiritual element to a lot of the projects that you seem to be attracted to. I wonder if you could, if you look back on that work and if you see any kind of governing ideas that are central to the films that you've been a part of. Is that too big and unmanageable a question?
No, it's not that. It's I guess it's this kind of mix of, you know, what does a director see in you? What does a filmmaker see in you? And then what is your taste? Certainly in the early days, you in a weird way, unless you're deciding not to go to the audition, you have no control over that. You know, you're just a beggar. You're like, hi. And they're like, nah. You know, sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. But as the days go on, hopefully you can be in a position to be able to afford, your choice. Again, I'm not answering your question. So what in terms of like the idea of change, inner struggle, trying to find the world.
You've played Siddhartha, you've played Neo.
Constantine.
Yes.
I know, which is fun. There's like these kinds of ideas of transition, metamorphosis, obviously in the kind of Joseph Campbell, journey, hero, 1,000, and cinema storytelling. I've played a lot of Johns. I think I've played like 7 Johns. I don't even know what that means. John, but it's a great role to have. I've been really fortunate in that, in the sense of, it's always something about, there's the struggle, it's trying to overcome, it's trying to understand, it's trying to affect change. I've always hoped to be a part of pictures that were entertaining, but that when you leave the theater, you've been given something. For me, that's the best part of art. Even if they're challenging, even if it's something that's, playing a wife abuser in The Gift, being part of a story that has something that gives back to the audience, that gives back to us, that we can think about and hopefully have a positive outcome with.
You've also been a part of a lot of the technological change in cinema over the last 25 or more years. I remember once having a conversation with you about the acoustics at Roy Thompson Hall, where we run our galas during a festival. And you had some very considered and thoughtful opinions about how the sound works in that hall, and for different kinds of films as well. You clearly pay attention to the technology and the impact it has on people as well, which leads me to side by side. And that whole change in terms of film to digital, which has just happened so quickly. We have a clip from Side to Side, but I just wanted to ask you before we get to that, just, how has that appeared to you being in the middle of it and to see this complete change in technology over the last 20 years or so?
Yeah, for me, just sitting here now and then going from when I started to work on the documentary around 2011, just this, I guess it happens all over. Look, it's how fast do things change? The rate of change. And I always think of it, I guess it's like that moment. I always think sometimes with like water turning to ice, like as the temperature drops, it's there, and then it crystallizes. It's just like moment, and then it happens. We have just seen that happen with film, with photochemical film. And at the same time, we're having Paul Thomas Anderson come out with 70 mil with Inherent Vice and Pynchon. Wow. Thomas Pynchon film, 70 mil. Yes. Joaquin Phoenix, one of the best. Big close-up, the master, right? Awesome. And of course, Interstellar with Nolan. I started with TV cameras and then, the dream was always 35, right? My first 35 experience was Youngblood, Hollywood picture. Before then it was Super 16. And then, video cameras, my first digital show. I had done videos with friends and stuff like that, and done some Super 8 stuff in Toronto and in LA. Just because that's what you do. You want to make stuff, you want to act, you want to play. But yeah, for me, Scanner Darkly was the first video show. Chris, I like that picture. To now that there's, no film.
Side by Side has Richard Linklater, Scanner Darkly director, in it, as well as many others, including Christopher Nolan, talking about that shift, about the rapid change in technology. I find it fascinating to watch. For anybody who hasn't seen it, I would highly recommend it. We have a clip from Side by Side. I just want to have a look at that, and we can go from there.
Okay, thanks.
So when you started, 35 millimeter was a big deal to be able to do one of those movies, and you went through the period where real 35 millimeter cameras were following you down alleys as you were running in a Catherine Bigelow movie. Now you can do all this on a computer. You can create the worlds entirely with software and hardware. What does that do to movies? And maybe this can be where we wrap up. What's the future now that the work that you have been doing for many years can now be done primarily with machines?
What part of it?
What you do. The human part of it.
Again, it really depends. Ultimately, where it seems like people kind of came up with was that the technology, like Rodriguez is saying, like the art and technology have a conversation happening. I think that you're going to have artists who are interested in. Again, you have the art, you have the idea, and then you have the production. What do you want to make the product? What is it going to cost to create that world? If you're doing world creation, it's interesting. Digitally now, it's getting even more. I mean, this just struck me. I was talking to someone who was doing post with David Fincher, and there's like over. I think he was saying like there's over 500 special effects shots in the movie.
In Gone Girl.
Yeah, and I'm like, what are they? and he is, because of the resolution and the way that they can do it, he can take, and they've been done this for a while, but say you and I, and we're doing a 2-shot, he'll split the screen in half and take one take from take 3 and take 7.
Wow.
Right? So he'll do different things here. They can change whether you blink or don't blink. So that idea of this moment happening, obviously with editing, it's always manufactured, right? Right? There's that idea of it, but the degree of that now is becoming much more sophisticated. You know, as we're able to move in the micro and the micro worlds of things, the control of the filmmaker at production scales. You know, so kids who are, you know, your phone, which is a 2K phone, which 2 years ago was what you paid $13 to go see a movie in a cinema like this, is on your iPhone. 2 years ago, was what the industry standard was. Even now, it's like 4K is trying to catch up to that technology. It's cool, you know, I mean, they talk about the democratization of the tools of the trade, and so many people now, I mean, the imagistic photography, which has always had, you know, it's what the motion picture is built on, has had such an influence. I mean, color, digital intermediates doing with color came from photography. You know, everyone's taking a picture now. I mean, I have people that are taking pictures with me now, and it's like, can we do another take? You know, they're getting color correction tools, right? They're doing special effects. Let's see what you look like fat. You know, right? How about a zombie? Right? And this is stuff that was, you know, George Lucas was taking, you know, 6 months to do, and you're like, zombie, which is cool. So there's cinema languages really developing, and that's happening all over the world.
What does it do to the craft of acting?
Stop at acting? With acting, well, I mean, there's different editorial tools for the filmmakers now, so that they can manipulate and change. In terms of like us doing a scene together, nothing other than the rhythm of the floor, you know, and traditionally again, this is like this is legacy shit. This is like 5 years old. Like a 35 millimeter roll film is like almost 10 minutes, right? 9 something. Then they'd have to spend a few minutes to. I haven't done a movie like that, and you know. But there's again little pockets of people, but all of the. Okay. Anyway, so to the acting and digitally. So then now it's like digitally you can have more time before interruption. So that creates a different way. And also I think this is kind of inside baseball, but because people aren't cutting as often or letting it go, there's a kind of fatigue that can happen around you. So this is my nostalgia speaking, but kind of real. It's like when that expensive film used to roll and everything the energy that came into this moment with the actors had a real gravitational pull. And it still does, right? The story that we're going to tell, the director, the creatives, everybody doing that, all of that energy goes to it. When you're asking people just to stand there for 35 minutes while the specialness is happening, people are like, zombie, ooh, Christmas, me, what's in the new, you know, there's a kind of, there's a fatigue, right? So then that kind of moment that goes around this moment, sometimes you're just kind of like, come on folks, let's bring it all together here. But that's not all the time, right? So it's still, that's just a pet peeve. So to answer your question,
Don't feel like you have to.
No, I understand. People are hungry. You gotta go to the bathroom. But so there's still, so it's just the rhythm of acting and what you can do. But it's a really exciting time because, also because of the digital aspect of distribution and exhibition has, the platforms have opened. And so there's so many people making so many different kinds of stories and we're getting to experience them in so many different ways. And that's the real positive side of it.
Thank you. You answered my question. Thank you so much, Keanu. We've got some time for questions from the audience. We're just going to put the lights up. Oh, are there questions? Yes. All right. We've got microphones that are going to come to you. Let's go right here first. And we'll try to get as many in as we can. So please try to keep them brief.
Hi, how you doing?
Hey.
I wanted to ask you, actually, I'm sure a lot of people here know that you're a fantastic actor. I wanted to ask you, though, about your stint in a rock band, Dog Star. I wanted to ask if you could just share any good stories. I mean, how important was your career as a bass guitarist in a grunge band at the time compared to being an actor, Any more precedence at all, or if you could just share any good recording stories or anything like that?
Yeah, I got to work with Ed Stasium, who is an amazing producer, great rock producer. So that was amazing. Yeah, it was a bunch of guys who it was classic, man. There was nothing, it was like friends who got together, who started to jam, and then who said, like, let's write a song. And then once you start writing a song together, you're like, well, dang, we got to play out. So then you start playing in clubs and, and then people start to have fun or they tell you suck. But you don't care because you're writing songs and you're having fun. I highly recommend joining a band and making music and playing live. It's really awesome. And we had a chance to tour, and so it was when I work, oftentimes it's such a concentrated thing. There's so much discipline. You don't talk. I can't talk to people like friends. You go into this kind of time machine. So I go here and your life kind of goes on by you, but you're just doing this. And so then when I would come back, it seemed like a good idea to play rock and whatever else comes with that, like play music. And so that's what happened. And then the band broke up. So we were together for about 8-9 years, and then we couldn't stay in a room and make music together anymore, and it stopped, and I miss it.
Okay, let's go up here. And then we're going to come down here.
Hi, Keanu.
Yes. Hi.
I just noticed that Cameron has talked an awful lot about your physicality on screen, and it's a very distinct physicality that you have. I don't think any other actor has it. Do you feel that limits you in the type of roles that you select or what you choose to play?
I don't really know. I mean, I can't answer that. I don't want to hire that Reeves guy. He keeps moving. I'm sorry. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, there've been some performances that have some stillness in them. I think we're all, as my friend says, rare birds. And so we all have our sound and our voice. And personally, I hope to be able to do everything I can in any genre.
Okay, let's come down here. There's like 6 people in the front row who have questions. Let's go right here first, please. Maybe we can get 2 down here.
Hello, Keanu. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Hello.
Good. Hi. My question is, if you had the chance to direct or be involved in a remake of any one of your older films, what would it be and why?
Remake. Direct my own remake. Gosh. What would be a good one? Nah, Bill and Ted? No, come on, you can't touch that.
All right.
I don't really. Let's see. I don't have one.
Okay. We're gonna have to move on. Let's go just behind, 2 rows back behind you. Can you pass the microphone back, please? And then we'll go to the back.
Cooperation.
Thank you.
The programming department here did a great retrospective of your work. And I was wondering if you had a chance to work with them to pick one artist to do a retrospective of, who would it be and what are some of the pieces you'd want to include in that retrospective?
Of another artist?
Yeah.
I'm gonna. No, I can't see that one. No, because I don't have enough to follow up with the. It's a curiosity of it. I was gonna say I can't. No, I can't even say it out loud.
Is this a question you can answer or no?
I mean, like in a minute or two.
Yeah.
No.
No? Okay.
I don't.
We'll get back to you.
Okay.
All right.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
Thank
Let's
you.
go back up here. Yes?
Hi. What's the most important thing you've learned throughout your journey that you would impart on young actors? And also, what was your squib story?
Okay. Advice is tough. Let's see. I'm getting stumped by the. It's hard to give advice because everyone has their own way to do things. I mean, obviously, you want everyone to be okay. So. I don't know. Okay, I'll answer the other part first. So in the squib, there's a shot where Neo Thomas Anderson's in that room, and in the building, and you see it. That's part of that sequence where it's a dolly shot where the guy's running, Neo's running with the guns out, and you see all of that material coming towards you in slow motion. So that was a film camera. I guess I forget what they were shooting. I think it's like 600 feet a second at the time, something like that. But those only have a certain amount of time, to reload that camera, to do the squibs. And so I'll physicalize for you. So I have to do this thing where you have to go from here, and then I had to go across, hit this wall, and then they had the camera down there, and then do that roll, and then come back into here and do that thing. So when they had the camera, so that you can hear the whine of the camera going, and they had said action, and I went, wait, because I wasn't ready, and I knew that if I fucked it up, it was 6 hours. But I also kind of knew that I only had a certain amount of time, but I wasn't ready, so it was one of those things of just wait, and then. Okay, go! And they were like, action! And then the world just fucking exploded. And we didn't have to do it again. It was awesome. What was the first part? Advice. How young is the actor? Okay, I'll just say perseverance, which is different than, I guess, follow your dream, perseverance. As a young actor, rejection is really difficult and it's really hard. That as much as you can, try to not take it as personally, and to have confidence, and that with the confidence or relaxation, the best of you will shine out, and that probably remains true. So, and that idea, perseverance, and trying to understand what you're doing and to move forward and to kind of keep open and keep fighting for it.
Thank you. Let's go here.
Hi, Keanu. I just have a question. You've done certain films that have involved time period, like Constantine, 47 Ronin. And I wanted to know if you had any plans or interests, like I'm Aboriginal Cree from Northern Ontario, if you had any plans or interests in working with Aboriginals.
I don't at the moment. I don't have anything in development with that. I had met and some material that was dealing with the Hawaiian Aboriginal in that moment when the United States came in, kind of imperialized the island, got rid of the Queen. I've been approached about that. That didn't quite work out script-wise. But that's to my ancestry, just the Hawaiian side of it. That's all I got.
Okay.
I mean, I'm open to it, of course. It's such an important thing.
Okay. Here? Who's good? Right here? Do you see? Right behind the row where the lady just asked the question? Yes, right there.
Hi, Keanu.
Hello.
This question actually is from Annie. She's from California, but she obviously wasn't able to be here today. So her question is, let me take off my glasses. Regarding replicas, will you be chatting with various leading neuroscientists, and what aspect of neuroscience attracted you? And welcome home.
Oh, thank you so much. Replicas is a project that I'm in development with, trying to raise the dough for, which is a story that takes place about this scientist who loses his family, but he's doing the science of replicating the human mind character, taking the memory, who you are, putting it into other material, putting it into this mechanical body, but turning it out into a clone body. He loses his family, and he ends up replicating his own family, but without telling anybody. And telling them. So complications ensue. Honey, anyway. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in science and technology and its impact on us, you know, just in terms of what we hope to create, what we develop, and how we interact with it. More and more technology is in our hands and in front of our eyes and in our bodies and in our culture. So this is a project that's kind of addressing this moral, ethical idea of immortality and replication of self.
This question right there.
Hi, Keanu. You were just saying that you're really into science and tech, and I host a science and technology show here. And I've heard that you also really love food. You just did your Reddit AMA, and you like, I don't know, burgers and stuff like that. Anyway, my dream is to make Keanu Reeves cheese out of the microbiome in your belly button and your toes and your armpits.
Wait
and I was
a
just wondering
second.
if you might be up for that for science. Say yes. we could eat the cheese afterwards. It'll be delicious. Come on.
He didn't
What
answer
the
some of
hell?
my questions, so you don't have to answer that one.
Please give the how long does the specimen, like how long is it? Does it have to be fresh or what? Have you done it to anybody else?
Cheese science people lined up.
But does the cheese taste good? Human cheese? It just sounds wacky. I think we just have to. I think we have to change the. That needs a new title. It needs to be called something
right.
else than
I think.
human
Okay.
cheese.
Thank you.
I think I might say no, but thank you.
We are going to move on to the next non-cheese related question. Right down here. Let's go. There's a lady in the second row.
I don't want to eat that. Even if it tastes good, I don't know what it tastes like.
Hi, Keanu.
I'm sorry.
Adore you.
Oh, that's kind. Thank
First
you.
off, a lot of the actors from films are coming to TV. Any interest in TV series that?
Yeah, the old TV. The old new TV. Yeah, I've developed, working, actually the directors of John Wick, a picture that just came out. Chad Stahelski and David Leitch, who were actually the were stuntmen on the Matrix trilogy, is where I met them. And anyway, it's another long story. They brought me some material from a project called John Rain. It's the Rain series, which is an assassin, lonely guy.
The
fucked
name
up.
is really John again?
It's John, man. John Rain. After John Wick, and John Constantine. We can keep going. So yes, yeah. I mean, so we have a showrunner. We're trying to develop that, and it's interesting. I mean, for me, the television. I mean, television has always been a writer's medium. So right now, I think it's actually more interesting just in terms of what it's doing with storytelling and storytelling architecture beyond serialization. And it's cool to have the idea of maybe spending more time with one character and all of that good stuff. And television is using so many, because of the production, the digital aspect of it in terms of the lighting, the post on it, the camera. Television is now looking a lot like movies, right? And so they're doing cinema language in television. So we gotta keep developing. Movies have to keep doing something, you know?
Okay, in the very back row, there's a gentleman, if you can make it up there. The microphone. I'm sorry, I can't tell if it's a gentleman or a lady. It's so dark up there. I'm sorry. Either way, I wouldn't be offensive, I hope. Here comes the mic.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a guy.
Lucky
I don't have my
guess, thank
glasses
you.
on either. So thanks for coming today. I knew you were going to talk about your interest in the evolution of cinema technology. So I wanted to know, are you, have you looked into, or have you to what degree looked into virtual reality filmmaking, that kind of storytelling, VR?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to go over there with the Oculus folks a couple of months ago and have a tour of that. That's going to change a lot of things. In terms of, there have been, other filmmakers that I know are dealing with, certain cameras to deal with multiple directional footage capture that can be, post-edited so that you can experience your, it's basically, you can make decisions where you want to look. So if we're having a scene and you feel like looking over there or looking over here, there'll be image capture. So in a weird way, you're picking the editorial. So that's going to be serialized. I think that's coming Google your way. I'm still kind of interested in the challenge of telling a story from one perspective with an idea that can shoot off, but in terms of interactions and stuff like that. But in terms of point of view, I'm not quite there yet. I had a meeting with the 4D folks over there in terms of the experiential kind of idea, where the chairs go and the mist comes and they're running through a field and it's hay. And then the camera drops down and you're falling. That could be fun, and I'm sure people are going to make people laugh and cry with those technologies. With the Oculus VR stuff, I think that's going to, that's going to be, I don't even know. I mean, that's going to start affecting memory, who we are in our lives in terms of memory and that's really going to be what is real, because you can start having virtual reality inputs in terms of your eye and texture and hands and avatars, and you're going to start going, was that memory? And then it's just going to be amazing. Good luck for all you young people out there. Have fun. It's going to be really awesome. It's really exciting. I mean, they've gotten rid of all of the there used to be a time delay. So when you were looking at stuff and you went like this and it was like, it caught up to you. But now that's like, they're under that 14 millisecond limit, that threshold. So it's like right now and that, so you're going to start conferencing, you're going to start interacting with each other with that material. And it's going to be, I don't even know.
We are going to have to wrap up, unfortunately, but there's a lady down here in the front row who's holding a sign saying, "Today, my birthday."
She came all the way from Japan for this yesterday.
Wow. She came from Japan, I'm just hearing. Do you want to say anything to Keanu? Okay, she's got a gift maybe to present to you.
Hajime mashite. Domo. Domo arigatou gozaimasu. Okay, okay. Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
All right, we have to wrap it up. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Keanu, thank you for a terrific afternoon.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.